So some of you might have seen a video where I posted that I had ordered a new saw. This is an Echo 361P. This is their professional grade 35cc class saw. I've gotten it apart right now because I was trying to change the sprocket over to this rim sprocket. This rim sprocket with a quarter pitch. The chainsaw geeks, actually, I guess, I don't know, if you're not really into chainsaws, you probably wouldn't know this, but this is a 3/8 drive, and to run a dime tip bar, which is this really narrow tip bar, so that you can do details and things like that on your carving, you have to replace this sprocket downside there. This is your clutch. You have to replace this sprocket down in there with a quarter pitch sprocket. So instead of 3/8, it's quarter pitch. It allows you to run a daintier chain. The chain links are closer together so that you can get, you can fit a carving bar like this one. This is a Canon carving bar with what they call a dime tip. You'll notice, if you know anything about chainsaws, this doesn't have a sprocket in it. And so you have to run your chain really loose so that you don't burn up the tip here. So I've got my chain, I've got my carving bar. This is a 12-inch Canon carving bar, and I even purchased the sprocket. From what I can tell by reading all the forums, this is the correct sprocket. However, this is the first time I've ever seen this on a clutch. So in order to remove this piece, you either have to do some fancy work by clogging up the cylinder and then tapping this off with a hammer and a screwdriver, or purchase a special piece that goes on there so that I can use an impact driver to remove this. So I had to order this special piece because I don't want to be shoving stuff down in my cylinder so that I can lock it, so that I can take this piece off. I'd rather just do it the right way. So the new tool's on its way. It's a little adapter that goes on here and then has a nut so that you can take this clutch off. So I was really excited. I was looking forward to using the new Echo 361P. This is going to be a replacement for my MS170, or at least that's the hope. And I say that because I really like my MS170. And there's a lot of people out there who will say, well, the Stihl MS170 is a throwaway saw, like a $200 saw. They're really just meant for light use. They're not supposed to last a long time. And you're right, they don't. I'm on my second MS170. Now, I will tell you that I could probably pay someone to repair the first one because it was used when I bought it, and we could pay to put a new carburetor on it and do some tuning, and it would probably be fine. But the trouble is, it almost costs more to have one of those fixed than what you paid for the saw. So they are throwaway saws. But I will tell you that I love the Stihl MS170, and I love it for all the reasons that people say it's an inferior product. It has no anti-vibration. People are not fans of that. They say that it shakes too much, it rattles too much. I like that it has no anti-vibration because it means that I have more control over the tool. And let's be honest, it's a very underpowered saw, so it doesn't vibrate a ton. It's really not an issue, and you get really good control over the saw. The second thing people hate about it is the power issue. They say it's really an underpowered saw. Another reason that I really like the Stihl MS170 is because it's an underpowered saw. It's not running at 12,000 RPM. It's just doing what it needs to do, and because I'm using it for detail and smaller pieces, fast isn't always the best because then you make mistakes much quicker. So again, all the things that people dislike about the MS170 are things that I actually find endearing to the tool and a reason why I love it. As a production chainsaw carver, the fact that it's so cheap is great because I had it, my first one for a year before it went, and it still runs. It just doesn't always want to start up. It really just probably needs a new carburetor. It's a cheap part. I could install it myself. I could tune it myself, but then it's just time fixing it, which I don't have a lot of extra time. So I have a second Stihl MS170, and honestly, it's starting to show some wear after, we're creeping up on a year with it. So about a year, I use that saw every day. Every piece that I carve, that saw touches. The amount of money that that one saw has made me is astronomical compared to the $200 investment. I spent more on the sprocket, well, almost as much on the sprocket bar and chain carving bar for that saw as I did for the saw itself. The chainsaw's $200. The carving bar is $100. The sprocket, I don't know, another 20, right? The chain, another 20. So just call it $140 to, have the setup. The saw only costs $200. So again, I'm always going to be a fan of the MS170. I might actually even go up to my Stihl dealer because I've seen one up there and buy it before it's gone, and try to find a couple others and buy them before they discontinue them, because the new ones, the upgraded versions of the Stihl MS170, have anti-vibration. I'm not a huge fan of anti-vibration. This saw does have anti-vibration, which is why people like it over other smaller saws. It also has a lot more power. This is quite a bit more powerful than the Stihl. So I think it's going to be a good saw. Will it replace the MS170? We'll have to see. I'm going to put a 12-inch Canon dime tip carving bar on this setup with the anticipation that it's going to become my main saw, because I can do a lot of work with a 12-inch dime tip bar. We'll see. I know this was a longer video and it was in the weeds on tools. I also want to say that, of course, you might notice that I purchased one of these previously and it arrived damaged. And I ordered this from Saw Supplier online. It was $50 cheaper to get it through them than it was to go through someone else. And I also didn't need the stock bar and chain, so that's really where I saved the money. But I don't need those. I wasn't going to use them anyway. First one arrived damaged. After a few days, I was able to get in contact with the company. They're on the West Coast, so I think there was some timing issues there for me getting in touch with them. But once I did, no questions asked. I sent the old one back. They sent the new one to me. This one looks great. And so once I get the adapter that I can take the clutch off, I'll get this one switched out to the quarter pitch. And this will become, hopefully, my main saw. This is a good deal more expensive than a Stihl MS170. Without a bar and chain, I paid $360 for this saw, which is not expensive in the grand scheme of things. A Stihl equivalent of this would probably cost you $800. So Echo definitely has it figured out on the price. It remains to be seen if I prefer this over the Stihl. We'll find out. But I'm going to run this saw. I'll be sure to let you know. There's things I like about it. There's things I don't like about it. Maybe I'll do a video in the future once I have some hours on it and let everybody know exactly what I think. Because we do have some chainsaw carvers that follow my page. And I've had some questions specifically about this saw. So once I use it, I'll be sure to let you know. Again, for all the folks who aren't in the tools, maybe this was in the weeds for you a little too much and you didn't enjoy it. But there are some folks who will enjoy this video. So stay tuned. I'll let you know what I think about the new Echo 361P and whether or not it replaces my cheap Stihl MS170. Take care.